Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Vlad.
My name is Anton.
And today we're going to be talking to you about the Nautilus 2 mouth-to-lung tank.
Woo! It's awesome.
Before we get into that though, let's announce the winner for last week's giveaway.
Let's do that. Congratulations, Drew Falls. Please get in touch with us and we would love to send you your brand new Smog Spirals tank. Congratulations, my friend. Today we're going to be reviewing the brand new Nautilus 2 tank by Aspire.
It retails for $34.99 Canadian, making it one of the cheaper tanks available on the market today.
If you do choose to pick up the tank, what you would be getting in the box is the tank with a 0.7 ohm coil pre-installed, an extra 1.8 BVC coil, which we've learned to love and hate at the same time, extra glass piece, some extra spare O-rings, and a silver drip tip if you're getting the black, and a black drip tip if you're getting the silver.
At its heart, the Nautilus 2 is really just a weird and interesting facelift for the Nautilus Mini. The only thing that's changed is your filling method, the design, and the fact that you now have a protective casing over your glass tank.
Also, I think it's worthwhile to mention that the airflow did improve by a significant margin. I don't know about yourself, but I personally found it to be so much more enjoyable and so much more versatile.
Now, before I get into all of the details, I did want to talk about my personal experience opening this tank up and starting to use it. Because Anton knows I was severely disappointed in the first day of using it. First and foremost, this frigging steel or whatever material it is casing over the tank is quite possibly the most annoying top cap that I've ever encountered. When this tank comes brand new, the threading still hasn't been worked in. It's actually really hard to take off the top cap the first couple of times. And that's a huge issue because even the Nautilus Mini, which I hate filling up, it's a little bit easier to at least unscrew it because you have knurling to grab onto. When I filled it up to the top of the threading as Peebasartle suggested in his review video, and within 5 seconds flat, my liquid leaked out. I had paper towels that were just soaked through. This thing leaked right from the get-go. You know, that gave me flashbacks to using the original Kanger sub-tank, which was such a terrible experience, and I was almost done with it. Then when I finally got the leaking under control, I primed the coil, all of that was good. I started vaping it, and for the first 2 hours of using this tank on the 0.7 ohm coil, all I could taste was cotton. The break-in period was insane for the 0.7 ohm coil. And at that point, I was done. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to do anything. Thankfully, Anton had the wherewithal to grab the tank and use it for the entire weekend, just to stress test it.
When I got my hands on the tank, first impression was kind of bad because I heard Vlad complaining about how liquid is all over the place, this tank is gurgling, there's no flavor, and all he tastes is cotton. Unlike Vlad, I'm a little bit more patient. What I did is I took it home, I cleaned it out, refilled it with my own juice, and the very first pull had no flavor. I took a look at the tank and wondered what's going on. I closed up the airflow about a quarter way, and as soon as I closed, the flavor just exponentially improved. Not only did the flavor improve, but the actual draw of the device and the mouthfeel of the vapor, if you know what that means, improved along with it. I don't want to say this tank is perfect, I don't want to say it's fantastic, but I really did love it. I loved it so much actually that this was the only tank I used all weekend. The other thing Vlad mentioned was the 0.7 coil. I didn't actually get to prime it myself, so I'm not sure how the flavor was initially. However, as soon as I took it over from Vlad, my flavor was coming through perfectly.
Now, thankfully, Anton did convince me to give the Nautilus 2 another try, and I'm glad that I did, because as soon as I took it over when Anton came back from the weekend, I was actually impressed. It was very satisfying. A lot of the same stuff that we loved about the original Nautilus Mini. As Anton said, the mouthfeel, almost an intangible descriptor of how satisfying this tank is, but you really have to try it to understand. It's a confluence of so many different factors. It's the tightness of the pulp, it's the density of the vapor for what it is, it's potentially even the lack of flavor, the muted flavor. All of these factors come together to actually create a very satisfying pull, which, although it does require a higher nicotine level, once you find that nicotine level, is incredibly satisfying. But, although I enjoyed this tank a lot more my second time around, a lot of the issues I mentioned initially were still plaguing this device.
What I personally really like about this tank, especially in comparison to the Smog Spiral, which is an in-between tank, is just how silent this tank vapes.
Yeah, there's no whistling, no annoying.
Airflow is so smooth. This makes the tank for me.
For anyone that is having the same sort of issues that I was having initially, there are a few things that you can do to make sure that it's not happening. This is a mouth-to-lung tank, and it does perform best when it's a tighter airflow. Open airflow, you are going to lose quite a bit of flavor, so keep that in mind. The other thing, and this is where Anton and I disagree, I think that you should be filling your tank up below the threading in order to completely get rid of the gurgling, the flooding, which does fix the issue, but it creates another problem. It cuts your juice capacity in half.
I personally much prefer to fill it all the way to the top and suffer through 2 or 3 minutes of gurgling as opposed to filling up my tank every hour or two when I'm vaping. Now, last thing I really want to talk about is the difference between the 0.7 and the 1.8 ohm coils.
At the very least, I personally hated the 0.7s.
I love the 0.7s. I vaped them at 20 watts. The vapor was just hot enough to replicate the sensation of smoking a cigarette. The throat hit was so present. The 1.8 ohm coils, they never really did it for me with the Nautilus Mini. They never did it for me with the Pro tanks. They never did it for me with any tank in particular. I always like lower resistance, higher wattage.
The main reason for that is that Anton did not actually have an opportunity to prime the coil and break it in himself. It took me 3 hours to get any real flavor out of this tank, and for a mouth-to-lung tank like the Nautilus 2, that's unacceptable. That's crown 2 levels of breaking coils in. But here's the beautiful thing. You're not limited to the 0.7. You're not limited to the 1.8. The great genius behind relaunching the Nautilus using that same coil is that there are 20 friggin' coil varieties for these things. You can use all of the Nautilus Mini coils. You can use all the Triton Mini coils. You can use all the Triton Clapton coils. All of those coils are compatible with this tank. So if you don't like the 0.7 or even the 1.8, that's okay. There's plenty of coils for you to try out.
I think the versatility of the tank and the coils themselves is really what kind of sealed the deal for me and really convinced me that this is a tank I see myself using in the future.
And that's fantastic. I haven't had a chance to use any other coils on it, but I do know from experience with the Nautilus Mini that using something like even a Triton Mini coil can work wonders. So let's finish off with the pros and the cons.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first most important pro, this is a Nautilus Mini with a brand new facelift. The other really big pro for me is the versatility of the coils. As Vlad mentioned, you can use the Triton 2, the Triton Mini Clapton coils, the 1.2 ohm, the BVC coils, the 0.7s. So many coils under the sun that you could use with this tank. It really is the most flexible tank I've come across in a while. It goes without saying there's also a couple of other smaller pros, such as the glass case being protected, the extremely low juice consumption and battery consumption, and as we've mentioned before, the incredible mouthfeel of the vape. It's just so satisfying. I couldn't put it down all weekend.
And the last big pro is the mouthfeel of this device. Like we said, it is intangible. It's a little bit hard to describe, but it's satisfying as hell.
As soon as you put your lips on this guy, you're just gonna be like, bam, bam, that's satisfying.
Now, there are quite a few cons. Anton disagrees with me on some of them, but I am going to list them off nevertheless. Flavor is somewhat lacking. This is especially true if you use it on the more open airflow settings. I personally never considered the Nautilus Mini to be king of flavor. In the same vein, I don't think this has what it takes to compete with the best flavor chasing tanks out there. Even if you are okay with contending with a little bit of gurgling and you want to fill your tank up to the very top, the capacity is still tiny. 2 milliliters is actually smaller than the 2.5 milliliters of the Nautilus Mini. And finally, and this is something that Anton and I may agree at least partially on, the top cap does a lot more wrong than it does right. Now, with all of those cons being listed out, it does sound like I'm being slightly negative about this tank, and I do want to stress once again how freaking satisfying this vape is. And I also want to point out that if we were to review the original Nautilus Mini today, I would have a lot more to say about its negatives than I did for the Nautilus 2. If you are still using the Nautilus Mini, the Nautilus 2 is objectively a better tank than the Nautilus Mini. And if you're one of those people still using the Nautilus Mini, this is a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
No-brainer.
Do yourself a favor and pick up this tank now so you can have a much more pleasant vaping experience overall. With all that being said and done, we are once again going to be announcing something super exciting. We are going to be giving one of these away to a lucky viewer. If you think this tank is perfect for you, please comment on our video. Let us know what you think you love about it, what you think you won't love about it, and we would love to hear what you have to say and give one away.
And please, as always, comment, like, subscribe,
share, retweet, Instagram, Facebook.
Once again, thank you for watching our videos.
And as always, stay cloudy.
See you next time.